Hey, everybody. Today we are joined by Daisy Eagan of the Strange and Unexplained Podcast. Each week she takes you into a fascinating and terrifying tale, all the kind of stuff we love and we know you'll love too. There's Ray Rivera, The Bell Witch, Lake City Quiet Pills, New Jersey Watcher, and tons of stuff that we've never even looked at, like what's going on with The Simpsons and why can they predict the future. So we're so excited to have somebody who's into so much of the same stuff as us. Daisy Eagan, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad this worked out. We had a lot of technical issues to the point where we started to think that like something was interfering supernaturally.
Right?
Honestly, I was like, we're three powerful witches. So I assume when you get us together, it's just everything. Computers don't know how to behave.
Exactly.
It's going to glitch. It's going to glitch with us. Well, Strange and Unexplained, you're going to be at Obsess Fest too. So we're really excited to see you perform live at Obsess Fest and get to hang out with you. Tell us a little bit about what kind of your favorite cases are to cover and what all y'all talk about on Strange and Unexplained.
Oh man. First of all, I love it so much. And when Patrick approached me with this idea, I remember thinking like, there can't be that many cases. Like, how can you? And then of course I remembered that, Unsolved Mysteries was on the air forever.
Mm-hmm, right.
So there's no, what am I trying to say? There's no
like a lack of stories.
The well runs deep, unfortunately. With
I always say that my brain
crime
is like rotted Swiss cheese right now. I love covering cases that are truly confounding. Like, I recently covered the Yuba County Five, which, and universally the response has been like, I don't get like what could have happened,
right.
And some people, it just for your listeners, like these 5 guys in the 70s who were all developmentally disabled, except for one who was schizophrenic and like violently schizophrenic. Went on a road trip to see a basketball game, and then they ended up this mountain and they disappeared. And it took way too long to find them. It should not have taken that long. And they were all dead, except for the guy who had the schizophrenia. He was gone. And they have never found him. And so a lot of people think like, oh, he must have done, because he had a very violent past.
Mm-hmm.
But he was on his meds and he was doing well. And his father said like, you can tell when he's not on his meds. He was on his meds. His doctors were like, this is a really successful case of somebody who's been able to like bounce back. And unless he had some weird anomalistic like psychotic break while he was on his meds and thought maybe they were in trouble or they were being chased or something. Maybe he convinced them like, we got to run. But I don't think he killed them.
Yeah.
And it's just,
how were they found dead? Were there wounds?
No. So 2 of the men were found on the road, like this like logging road, basically, which again, the fact that they didn't see this road or search this road or go down this road doesn't make sense because it should have been on the maps. It's like a service road.
Yeah.
But they didn't see it until the snow had melted. And 2 of them were dead on the road and dead they were skeletons. Mm-hmm. And then, one of them, there was this trailer about 19 miles down this road, like a Forest Service trailer. And one of them was found completely tucked in, like somebody had tucked him in and his hands were on his chest.
Oh,
yeah. And he had been dead for, they said, somewhere between, it was a short, like if they had found him 2 weeks earlier, he might have been alive.
Wow.
Then they could tell from like the beard growth. But the craziest thing about it, aside from the fact that nobody knows what happened and this guy disappeared, is that in the trailer and in this little storage shed near the trailer, there was enough food to feed them for months and months and months, like military meals. There was like a generator or whatever. They could have had heat. And there was all this extra warm clothing. And they didn't touch any of it. And it looks like they never even tried to start a fire. Like it's so
something
strange.
Happened. Sounds like something happened almost immediately upon getting there.
Right? Like something came upon them or like you said, it got them to run out and away from safety and food and power. It's like Dyatlov Pass, shades of Dyatlov Pass.
Yeah, totally. It did make me think of that too. So yeah, I love, and the Dyatlov Pass was also another one where it's just like, what happened?
Yeah, because that stick with us.
Yeah, none of the explanations make any sense, you know. So I really love covering things like that. And then honestly, you know, I call myself a gullible skeptic. Like I'm pretty skeptical, but I can also be drawn in pretty easily. But I do really appreciate like alien stories that we also can't explain away.
Yeah.
You know, obviously there's life elsewhere.
Yes.
And, you know, or we live in a simulation and it's just somebody playing.
Also a possibility.
Something we've thought about as well. Yes. We just interviewed the director of the Aerial Phenomenon, which is about that aerial school UFO incident in Rua, Zimbabwe. And just, you know, talking to people who are like, no, this is real. And then we don't know what it really is, but we know it's something. Those type of mysteries just always stay with us forever.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I feel like, you know, it's like if you're driving somewhere and you come across like a really gross, sketchy town and you're like, I don't need to stop there. I feel like that's what happens when they come by Earth. They look at us and they're like, no, we're good. We're fine.
We've seen enough. We're okay.
Lock the spaceship doors. Like we're all set. We're all good. No, for real. Well, and you have the Strange and Unexplained podcast, but you're also launching a new podcast called Dear Daisy. That's about, speaking of unexplained, it's about secrets. Yeah. So you're going to get secrets from listeners, like real life people, things they've never told anybody before.
Yeah, we've actually already aired 7 episodes, and I do 2 letters a week. And yeah, you know, I thought that it was going to be more of a comedy podcast. I thought people were going to be telling me about times that they like pooped their pants at a job interview or like, you know, funny, embarrassing things. Yeah. But it's all been pretty heavy, except for one person who wrote about anal sex, which was pretty funny. But no, it's pretty heavy. People write about this has been the case with me since as long as I can remember, is that people do tend to come to me with like their trauma, people I barely know, and so that tradition has continued with Dear Daisy, and it's, you know, I love it, and I love it so much. I would do this for the rest of my life if I could. I love how vulnerable people will be. I love that people trust me to share these things. I love that I'm learning so much. You know, I'm learning a lot. I mean, you know, these are things that I've known, but like I'm learning that like women walk around with so much guilt and shame for things that they don't need to feel guilt or shame about. You know, we just we carry it with us.
Fear,
and when we think we're the only ones, and I think that's why a show like yours is so powerful, is because, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one.
Yes.
Somebody else has felt like this.
And
Did I read as well that you've have experience as a doula?
Yes, I am a doula.
I feel like that has like you're able to like let people be vulnerable and bring things forth. There's like some connection there.
Yeah,
that makes sense. You do have doula vibes. I've had 2 doulas, and you doula have their vibe, which is a huge compliment, because to have literal bedside manner, but to be with someone at their most fearful, most vulnerable, and make them feel comfortable and soothed is a huge characteristic to have. And I think your listeners clearly see that in you and feel safe telling you things.
Well, it really is an honor to be able to do it. And yeah, I've gotten feedback from people who've said, you know, I thought I was the only one who felt this way. And it's so great to hear how widespread it is, and that it's not my fault. It's just all that stuff. And so it's going in a direction I didn't expect, but I just love it so much.
That's been awesome. Our experience with Freaky Fridays that we do, that are listener odd but true tales. And there we do get wacky. We haven't got any about anal sex yet. They're coming now. Well, trust me. We're gonna do a whole 10-part series of that, I'm sure. But it's become this place, especially for women, to share their stories about domestic violence, stalking, sexual assault. And we hear so often from listeners, people writing in saying, can you give Daisy from that last Freaky Friday my personal number, because I went through something similar and I would love to connect with them, and even like posting on social to each other and fan groups, like, I don't know if that person from that story was here, but you're not alone. And it's just so humbling to know that, like something that, like you said, we all thought this was going to be funny and comedy, and it is, but it's evolved into something that we didn't predict, but that now we can't imagine it not being.
Yeah. It's so great. And it really is. It is an honor to, as I'm sure you feel, to be a container for people's, stories.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, for
they
sure.
feel heard. They might not otherwise be able to be heard that way.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing that you're doing.
And especially when it's anonymous, people can really say what they need to say without worry,
Yeah.
Let loose, for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, you have a Freaky Friday story for us here today.
I do.
We're very stoked to hear it.
Well, I was worried because, and I think I wrote to you about this, but I think maybe it's because I'm a skeptic. People tell me I'm not open to it, but I've never seen a ghost. I'd like to. I mean, a fun one.
Same,
not a scary one. I have had sleep paralysis since I was a teenager. I've never seen the man with the hat.
The Hat Man? Mm-hmm.
No. So I was like, I don't know that I have a good story. And then I have, this is my story. So I lived in LA for some time, and me and my family went there on a Sunday afternoon in 2021, I think. So, people were like just really starting to come out of their homes, and we went and got ice cream, and we were standing in this sort of not alley, but like a little alley that has shops in it.
Right.
Not like a
side street with little. You're standing out by the dumpsters, enjoying your ice cream as one does in Los Angeles.
Exactly. And I looked up and I saw a series of things in the sky that were, circle looking, and were definitely shiny, reflective surfaces. And I believe I counted 12 or 14 of them in a line, moving together at the same speed, as far as I remember. The intervals between them stayed. And then one more came a little later.
Wow. He was dealing with his hiccups, and that's why he showed up late.
Sorry, guys. I'm on my way.
His
spaceship's like, vroom, vroom.
He was the one pulling up the rear to be like, turn around. This place is garbage. Turn around.
We've made a huge mistake.
He's like, they've exited for Earth. Go and get them. Save them.
So I watched them for a while, and I was like, is everybody seeing this? And people started looking up, and everyone was like, what the hell is that? And I tried to get video, but it's grainy. It's all the way up there. And then I Googled it, I think the next day, to be like, somebody else had to have seen this. And I think I saw one thing on Twitter. God rest Twitter.
R.I.P.
From just a person saying that they saw however many of these there were, a little bit south, which was the way they were heading when they were heading sort of southwest south.
Okay.
And they saw them over a freeway a little bit after I did, south of where I was.
Okay.
But
that's validating that you weren't making it up.
Mm-hmm. And I Googled it the other day and I couldn't find anything about it.
Wow. What day was this? Maybe some listeners. We have a lot of LA listeners. Has anyone seen these flying discs?
Were you there?
12 to 14.
You know what? It's probably in my photo history.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's the thing about these UFOs or whoever's visiting us in the last probably like 10, 15, well, I guess probably the last like 15, 20 years. They're like, all of them have cameras on them now and video cameras and they're taking our pictures and they're sending them to each other on this thing called Twitter. We must come to Earth to destroy Twitter. We will change its name to X.
Yeah, maybe they're the ones. Maybe Elon Musk is actually
I think he's
something. He's something for sure.
An alien.
Yeah.
Evil alien.
I don't know. Yeah. I like to think aliens are benevolent, and I don't think that of Elon Musk. So I think he's a creature from the depths of some disgusting swamp. Yeah. Just slithered out.
I mean, honestly,
he did slither.
He slithered for sure. He doesn't really walk on those legs. Those are fake.
No,
he slithers.
It's an exoskeleton. His chest opens up like it's like a door, and then it's like and then that's really.
And he's like scampers across the ground.
Post another meme, and they're like, "That's really cringe, man." Anyways,
I gotta put on my human legs so nobody knows what I am.
Are he and Zuckerberg actually doing that MMA fight?
God. Well, if the world wasn't ending yet, it certainly now is with this news.
I just hope that, like, I don't want to wish pain on anybody, but maybe they'll take each other out.
Maybe
double knockout.
Nature does us a favor in this one. Maybe it's survival of the fittest, and neither of them are fit. So
exactly.
Ipso facto. ... Therefore, yeah. What are we going to do without X and Facebook? Probably thrive. I would imagine.
Be
nicer
much
to each other.
And to each other.
Kinder to each other. Certainly.
Well, that was the message the aliens gave the children in Aerial Phenomenon.
That's right.
They saw these visions when they looked into their eyes of technology, and all they could really explain was technology. We need to be careful with it. Like, if we keep using it this way, and that was in the 90s. So I think the prediction was pretty accurate.
They weren't wrong. I think they're like, technology, don't let technology burn the planet. And we were like, oh, whoopsie. Nobody listened to that.
No.
Speaking of which, I saw a TikTok the other day. There was some guy, I don't know who the hell he was, but he was like, people often ask me how I can stay so positive. And he was like, with the world falling apart the way it is. And he's like, look, I grew up in the 80s when there was a hole in the ozone and acid rain, and the Russians were going to nuke us. And he listed a few things, and he's like, and now here we are 30 years later, the Russians didn't nuke us. The ozone is getting fixed. The blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, yeah, except that all of the things that they were warning us about 30 years ago are, like the global warming is happening because of the things they were warning us. So what are you talking about, dude?
I think it's like you can't get a cut and then let it turn into a gangrene type of infection and go, listen, but the cut's fixed. The cut's gone.
You're like, something way worse. But
do you see the cut anymore?
No, anymore. Well, I volunteer on Fridays, and my buddy of mine that I volunteer with is in his 70s, and like so many times he'll just go, mortality is a gift. He'll just say it like, I'll tell him the story, and I'll be like, oh yeah, technology is advancing to where AI is in the future and in the next 20 years. And being that he's in his 70s, he's just like, mortality is a gift.
That should be the t-shirts that everyone wears to the Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk MMA fight. And then maybe they'll get the message.
Oh my God.
But yeah, he ain't wrong. Well, man, so I don't know what those are. That's a friend of ours saw some UFOs in the sky. Not quite what you're describing because it was at night and it was lit up. And it did turn out to be a Starlink satellite. When it goes into the sky, it has this like back and forth kind of LED, like, and so it does look disturbing, but it was at nighttime and lit up. And when he went to Twitter and was like, did anyone see a UFO over Dallas? It was like, oh, SpaceX is launching a satellite, but it was very easily like, that's the answer.
I think I saw that when I was Googling this.
Right.
That's such a
but
bummer.
They usually announce it.
You saw a UFO and it's just that.
What
a letdown. What a letdown.
I didn't know they do them in the day. But our new theory, and tell us how you feel about this, is that there absolutely are visitors from another world and that they have some connection to the ocean. Mm-hmm. Like maybe they land in the ocean, because a lot of these sites are a lot of the spotting of a craft, when the unidentified aerial phenomenon was going on a couple years ago, that when the army, wasn't the army, but the military guys saw, that was all around the water.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was over the sea crafts for the Navy. Yeah. And that's another one. It's like, how do you explain it? Nobody can explain it.
The ocean's too big for something not to be down there. And when we were speaking to Randall Nickerson yesterday, who we also told this theory to, and he was like, yeah, they live underwater, like without pause. He's like, the amount of times I've had people tell me they've seen a craft over water or going into water or coming out of water.
Really?
He said in Antarctica, there's definitely something going on. So he was saying extremes where humans can't live, extreme depths or extreme cold, because they know nobody's going to come knocking on their door because nobody can get to them, but occasionally they are spotted. And I found that fascinating. And another point he made was, if we were in war times and we were trying to spy on another country, you set up a base where you're, and then you send people out. So he was liking an underwater base to something like that, where this is just kind of their mission, and they're here for a while to gain resources probably or information, and then for the most part they leave us alone.
I feel like, again, that's like a human being sent to Antarctica for like research. It's like, really, I have to go there? Like, you're like, oh man, I got this horrible assignment.
I'll go to Earth, but only if I could be in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, not near anyone. And they're like, okay, you can have the assignment. But when we hear there's only 5% of the oceans that have been explored, I'm like, there could be whole ass things down there we don't know about.
Whole communities we don't know about for sure.
Well, did you hear, speaking of like Antarctica, they found a tube worm, like a prehistoric tube worm that when the ice thawed, it woke up.
It regenerated? Oh,
and not only that,
I don't like it.
It was pregnant.
Ah!
Oh, dang! This ain't the plot of a Michael Crichton novel. This is real life. Tell me this is real life.
Yeah, it just happened.
Are these things? Is this the only one that's still known of? Like,
it's not about to be the only one.
That's what I'm saying. We're about to bring it back. This is some Jurassic Park shit.
Yeah. Oh, also there was a woman in the Congo, I think, who was going to the doctors. It's not funny because she was really sick and nobody could figure out what was wrong with her. She was like,
please
tired.
don't say it was a tube worm. Please don't say it was a tube worm.
It was a parasitic, like snake worm. I don't remember what they called it, but it was some sort of parasitic worm, ringworm or whatever the fuck, in her brain.
I hate it.
And when they pulled it out, it was very long, like 8 centimeters or something like that.
Was it coiled in there like an extension cord?
Oh,
God damn.
And then what they figured out was she had harvested some local grasses and didn't clean them properly before cooking them.
Damn.
And so there was snake poop that had the parasites in it.
Shit, man.
Man.
Something like that, just a tiny little in, and it takes it.
Yep.
This might be a stupid question, but did she survive?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a story to tell at her next party.
I know. Could you imagine? She's like, well, let me tell you.
Someone's like, I have a headache. And she's like, oh, a headache?
Really?
Have you ever had an 8-inch?
Parasitic brain amoeba living in your head? Well...
that stops the conversation at a party. Someone's like, I'm just gonna go back to the buffet. It was nice to meet you though.
I gotta go.
Telling me
the buffet.
Yeah, she's like, I'm glad. A dish. You should eat it. No,
don't.
No, I'm good. Thank you very much. So.
Yeah, damn though. You're right though. Thinking about we have unearthed something from the depths of Antarctica. We got to be careful with all that.
So are they going to? Is mother going to deliver these babies?
Probably, if she hasn't already, yeah.
Ain't that about a bitch? You got pregnant and you're pregnant for like 1 billion years.
Oh God!
But at least you're frozen in time. She's like, God damn it! And I'm cold. Fuck.
You like fall asleep thinking, oh, the babies will be out when I wake up. And you're like, really? They're not?
They're still here? You mean I still have to be a mother after all this time?
It also goes to show that at least for simple organisms like a tube worm, like cryogenic freezing is a thing.
Yeah.
Right. Bringing it back to Elon Musk. They're trying to upload Neuralink, trying to upload brains and freeze bodies. We did a whole transhumanism episode and it's just so intriguing how the desperation of like wanting to, I want to be immortal. Like, I feel like some of those billionaires want immortality. And so you tell them we could freeze you and you'd come back and it's like, you're just a worm when they unfreeze you.
Yeah.
Just worm. He's always been one.
Yeah.
So
although I have to say, like, in the Buddhism faith, they say, although it's not a religion, I guess it's a practice. But anyway, the belief is that karma, like if you don't get enlightened, you get sent back to Earth to do it again. And if you have bad karma, you come back as like a bug or a worm. And I'm like, that to me doesn't sound like a punishment. Like to be like a non-thinking animal that it basically is left alone, fine. Yeah. That lives a very short time. Great.
Right. I had like a tiny ass lizard on my my outdoor table the other day, and I was like, it was just standing in the sun, and then I put some water and it was drinking water, and it just drank the water and its eyes were open, and then it looked up and it just closed its eyes. And I was like, what a vibe. And there was a little rock, and I was like, I'd come back as that little lizard.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'd love to be a ladybug. Everybody likes ladybugs. Yeah.
And they're lucky.
Or a cat. Cats just sleep. Lay in the sun and sleep.
I want to fly. Yeah.
Yes. I would like
I'd be
to
a
be
spoiled chihuahua.
What'd you say?
Spoiled chihuahua. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said, in my head I heard Beelzebub, and I was like, well,
I would be that.
You could also come back as Beelzebub. I would like to come back. I got some notes, so I feel like I could change things up a bit while I was there.
I just feel like, wouldn't it suck if you died and came back and you were aware of it and you were like, oh,
God, I'm a ladybug and I
have
used
to do this
be
again?
A podcaster. Then you got to get a ladybug podcast and you introduce a whole new bug's life. Yeah.
It's a matter of time. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, we're so glad we got to chat with you today.
Yeah, you're so fun to talk to. I know that we're going to have a lot of fun at Obsessed Fest.
Obsessed Fest is, I have to say, it is so much fun to meet all of the listeners, and they're all so excited to be there, and they're just it's a love fest for 3 days. It's really great. Yeah.
We're looking forward to the schedule being announced so that we can mark off and make sure that we get to see you perform live, see all these panels. We're in Dallas, but I think we're going to just try to stay around the whole weekend and take it all in. And like you said, it seems like such a fun, just a way to connect with everybody, with podcasters and listeners and the whole crew. So we're stoked for it.
Yeah, it's a special time.
It'll be good weather.
Yes, and it's the State Fair of Texas. If you have time beforehand or during the day, a corny dog.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal here. So.
I'll let you know. But for everybody Strange and Unexplained is on podcast apps everywhere. For Dear Daisy, where can folks go to learn more?
So Dear Daisy is part of a podcasting network that myself and Amber Hunt and Amanda Rossman started. They're no big deal. Awesome. They both won Pulitzer Prizes, whatever.
That's a big deal. We also won the youngest female Tony Award winner. Yes. Let's not act like
that's amazing. Yes, we haven't even addressed that, but that is incredible as well. And what was the musical?
The Secret Garden.
Secret Garden, yes. Yeah. That's amazing.
But we started a new network called Grab Bag Collab, and it's a new model. It's all Patreon. So it's only $5 a month is the lowest tier, and $5 gets you all of the podcasts that are on the network. Right now, it's Dear Daisy and Amber and Amanda's podcast, The Catalyst, which is a really great little true crime half-hour show where she doesn't say the name of the killer. So you either are such a true crime fanatic that you know it instantly, or it takes you a while. It's great.
Isn't it kind of like the catalyst of what got them to take on this life of crime? It's like their backstory, that early day backstory of what could have, because we always say it on these true crime podcasts where we talk about the crime and the punishment and the aftermath, but oftentimes it's real brief up front, and we'll be like, oh, well, this happened. It's kind of like this, mix of bad things that happen to people. So that's really fascinating to drill down to that early moment. I love that idea of what is that pivot point?
Yeah.
Man, we got to tune in.
It's really great. And we're going to be adding quarterly podcasts, which will be 8 to 12 episodes, just an arc of something, or some of them might be radio plays. We're open to everything. Ooh. And basically what we really wanted it to be and what we want it to be is sort of a collective, where people who have ideas that can't get their podcast sold to a big network because you have to be a big celebrity now, can come try out their idea, get it produced, and then maybe have a package to go sell elsewhere. And it's all profit share, and you keep your IP, which is so great.
Oh yes.
Oh, that's key in the industry.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. So
that's amazing.
Absolutely.
I love that you've given new creators a platform to hone their skills, and we are both fans of not gatekeeping stuff. So I think that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. And so how can people join? Just go to patreon.com/ is it Grab Bag Collab?
Exactly. Patreon.com/ Grab Bag Collab. And there's different tiers, and all three of us are very busy. We're all parents and we have other full-time jobs. So it's we're going slowly. We're not really, we're not crazy about it needs to grow, we need to do this fast. We're just it's going to take time. And so the bonuses that we have so far aren't the greatest, because we're trying to figure out how to make all of that work. But we like to say that, at whatever level you give, one of the bonuses is that you can really feel like you're supporting women and supporting new work and supporting voices that otherwise sometimes wouldn't get heard. So
that's so valuable. And that's what I was going to say is joining now. You're not joining on the front end of I want to get all these perks. It's I want to be a part of something, and I want to see what more you bring to the table, knowing how great the Catalyst is and how great Dear Daisy is already. If that's the kind of stuff, let's go ahead and join now. It's like a Kickstarter, but you already get stuff part of it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, totally. And
that's great.
And I have seen some feedback online from people who don't like Strange and Unexplained because, I'm very opinionated and I can be pretty snarky. And
we love that.
Thank you.
I love it.
I mean, if you don't like it, you're just not for me, and that's fine. But the vibe on Dear Daisy is totally different. That's just, it's a whole different can of worms. And usually I'm snarky toward people who deserve the snarkiness, not to people who are writing in to be a horrible thing happened to me.
Yeah, certainly. Like I said, you're now using your doula skills, but for people's stories and secrets, and that's a beautiful thing. And of course, you take that with the utmost seriousness. And would only be on the side of the writer of who did this to you? Fuck them. You know, like we'll still, I'm sure there's still some of that in there.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly. Well, we love it. We'll put a link to the Patreon for Grab Bag Collab. We'll put info on Obsessed Fest and Strange and Unexplained and all the show notes. But we cannot wait to hang out with you in Dallas.
Super
and we
stoked.
so appreciate hanging out with you today. What a blast.
Thank you so
really
much
fun.
for talking. And I can't wait to hang out in person because we
got so much.
We all have so much in common that, I'll just talk about aliens for days.
Yeah, I was just say there's just weird. Mostly, I just want to tell you about weird shit in Dallas. Like, oh, you like Strange and Unexplained stuff? We got some weird stuff going on.
Well, I don't know if you've heard of JFK, but there was a little thing that happened here with him.
Well, Patrick requested that we cover the JFK conspiracy, so we're trying to do due diligence. We got Richard Belzer's book on it, so it's going to be wheels off.
Great. I did an episode about the babushka lady.
Nice.
Oh, great. We'll listen to your episode and we can quote you. So we'll be at Obsessed Fest.
And
bring it in.
I will tell you guys about my husband's verified ghost story when I see you.
Please. Yes. Because I am like you. I want a ghost. I want an alien. Nice ones. Or neutral. They don't even have to be nice. Just not mean. And I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
So
I'm open.
Yes, Randall Nickerson told us once you are open-minded, then you are more likely to receive a visit. So
I'll come to you.
Like he said, the aliens don't approach you until they know you're ready. So
that's fair.
I'm ready.
That's like a dog or a cat or a child or a person, you know.
Well, like you said, right? Or like you said earlier, they're like, it's Earth. Don't put your hands near their mouths. They bite. It's like that kind of thing. Like we're like dogs. Wait till they're ready. Let them sniff you a little and then you can pet them. Yes.
Make sure you wash the grass if you're going to eat it. So,
well, we're all ready for our alien encounter and we're all ready for Obsessed. Thank you so much for being with us.
Maybe it all happens on the same weekend, you know?
We're all going to get taken up.
Well,
so October 20th to the 22nd in Dallas, you're going to get sucked up.
If you get a bunch of spooky people in one location, I'm just saying, like aliens, you've got a lot of believers in one location. You could just come and be like one-stop shop for, whatever you need.
Yeah.
It finally happened. Yeah. We love it. Well, come to Dallas where we've assassinated a president and maybe you'll get a mass alien abduction. TBD. See you in October. But thank you again for being with us today. We so appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.